Michael Somerville. Look, a partial standing ovation. It's almost. Oh, they're going to the bathroom.
Here, you can have the good chair. What's that, me here?
Yeah, I'll take it.
All right.
All right.
Am I just talking here?
Yes. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our interview with Michael here at McCurdy's Comedy Theater and Humor Institute, Sarasota, Florida. Those tuning in on the World Wide Web. And great show, by the way.
Thank you very much.
This,
yeah, it was a nice, very lovely crowd.
Yes,
Thank you guys for coming
crowd.
out. Very nice crowd.
We do. They're very smart here.
I
think.
That's what I love about Florida, yeah.
Really?
What?
Well, they're from other places. Come
No, I
around.
feel like it's nicer weather than New York, but there's like a New York sharpness, and yeah, people get it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you find that to be true when you say that? Do you find that to be true in all Florida clubs?
Well, you know, I would think about the ones that I've done. No, actually, good point. Not true at all clubs
Okay.
in Florida. Yeah, I would say certain markets.
Right. And here.
Here, definitely.
Yeah.
Got surgeons in the crowd. I don't
Yes,
get
we
surgeons
do.
in my crowds normally.
Well, you know, our crowds in Sarasota have a tendency to be a little older than the average comedy club crowd. Would you say so?
Okay, well, I can't. Oh, yeah, look at that. Yeah. No, I'm teasing. I do 18 to 80. I do Vegas. I do cruise ships, so I'm used to whatever.
But I mean, I know you're used to that, and I know you can play any age group. But when you're touring comedy rooms around the country, do you see the average age group being more 20 to 40 or more 40 to?
Yeah, no, I would say it skews younger. I would say, yeah.
Younger.
Yeah, not even 20. I would say 25 to 30 is the youngest, because the younger kids are just hitting bars, drinking. But
Right.
yeah, it's more like 30s, 40s. But then they start having babies, and then all of a sudden it drops off at like, yeah, all of a sudden there's like no one from 35 to 44.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that.
And then it starts at 45 again, yeah.
Right, because they have teenagers, and
Yeah.
then they're just looking to do anything to avoid
Just anything.
them, you know. Actually, this is not Michael's first time here. He came here twice before with Mitch Fatale.
Yeah, it was opening.
Who is a celebrity act that we bring in, and brought Michael, and always did so well in front of Mitch, and so this is Michael's first time headlining our room tonight.
Thank
this is
you
the
very
first
much,
night for us. I didn't know if you had more than 20 minutes. No. No.
I didn't either.
It worked out.
But in all seriousness, no, thank you, and thanks to Les, because this is one of those things, like, as a comedian, you work your ass off, and you feel like it's not like a normal job where you get promoted or you get a raise or anything. You just don't know. And so guys like this who really like comedy and appreciate and want to help comedians watch and say, no, that guy's ready for it. That doesn't happen in a lot of clubs. So I thank you personally for having me back at a higher level.
You're ready. And we'll get back to that. Just a little bit about you, and we talked about it when last time he was here when I interviewed Mitch. Also, Michael was part of the interview. But you talk about. I think that you have the kind of show that the audience kind of knows you, or kind of feels they know. You talk about your family. You talk about your mom, your dad, Catholic.
Right.
You pretty big family, typical kind of
Irish Catholic, yeah.
Irish Catholic family. You live in New York now, and you mentioned having a girlfriend. Do you really currently have a girlfriend, or is because that can just be part of the act in the show. Are you single? Or are you?
No, I think I do, but I have not been back to New York in a long time.
Right. Okay.
So I'm not sure she thinks she has a boyfriend.
Right.
There is a woman who I believe is still dating me. But
there you go.
I got to get home soon. I've been on the road. I've done 300 shows this year on the road.
Wow.
Yeah, so I got to get back and see if she's still there.
Well, I think that's kind of where I was headed was, I mean, when you're, and how old are you?
36.
36 years old. And you've been touring now for how long?
13 years. Well, touring. I mean, yeah.
But you've been in the business for 13 years.
Telling jokes on sticky stages for 13 years. Yes.
Yeah. And probably, actually touring nice clubs and theaters and stuff like that for what, maybe 8 or something like that?
Yeah, I guess I opened for Brad Garrett. Everyone knows the tall brother on Everybody Loves Raymond. So we do beautiful theaters. And last week I was in a private jet to Syracuse, New York with Brad Garrett, and it's just And then when I was done and the gig, the jet landed, he had a limo waiting for him, and I was just standing on the runway with no way to get home. Like, all right, I guess the gig is over. So he whisks off in a car, and I'm like, all right.
Okay, not dropping me off.
Yeah, back to ramen noodles.
Okay. That is kind of so.
But it's paying the dues. That's what we do. You pay the dues and you get good. So when you get the chance, then all of a sudden you got something to back it up. You know?
Well, and you're on. I would imagine you are probably away from New York 30 weeks a year.
Yeah, I've been away at least. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do 37 weeks away from New York this year,
which is pretty common for road comics. You want to be. And almost at 40 weeks. Obviously, kind of hard to keep a relationship.
Yes.
Now, you mentioned there's a girl you've been seeing back there. You stay in touch on the road just from now, here and there, and it seems like everything's okay, and then you come back and you don't know. Yeah,
I'm not even sure my mom is still technically with me at this point.
Exactly.
I had my mom said, "Where are you next week?" I said, "Oh, Mom, well, check my website." And she got so angry. She goes, "I am your mother. I am not checking your website." I forgot. Sorry.
No. So when's the next time you're going to be home?
I will be home for 13 hours next Monday.
13 hours. When's the next time you're home? So will you call this girl up and say, you want to come hang out for 8 hours?
I get a lot sweeter when I'm about to get back to New York. All of a sudden I ramp up the calls and the texts. And no, I have to say she's a saint. She works in the restaurant business, so she works crazy hours too. She's kind of used to the chaos of it. And then the benefit is sometimes there's good gigs. Like I'm doing Vegas in January, and she'll come out and spend a week in Vegas. Yeah. So there's I always play that up. Like, well, how many people get to just go to Vegas for a week? And so I'm pounding out that aspect of this career because it's a lot of dues though.
So and where do you? What type of place do you live in New York?
I live in a very, very bachelor pad. I live in Manhattan, but I don't even have a bathroom in my apartment. It's in the hallway. And you have to, like a gas station, you got to get a key and open it up. And so you have to leave your apartment at 2 a.m. if you want to pee.
So it's like a dormitory.
It kind of is. It's all mine. It's my bathroom all to myself. But no, I got like a bed and some soy sauce and a bathroom in the hallway.
How many people in here, by applause, have ever lived in Manhattan or visited people who actually lived in Manhattan? So not many of you. So you don't realize that what he's saying. You see apartments there where literally the shower is next to the stove.
My shower's in my kitchen.
It is in your kitchen. You have one of those.
Yeah, it's in my kitchen.
So you can take a shower and cook.
All at the same time.
All at the same time.
And wash your pots and brush your teeth. Yeah.
Exactly.
No.
It's unbelievable.
The first time when I moved into the place, I was so excited to have my own apartment that I went out one night and I just went crazy with my buddies. We drank till 3 a.m. I come home, ripped off my clothes, passed out. Woke up about 5 a.m. Had to go to the bathroom, and without even thinking, I just stumbled down the hall and I'm peeing, and I look down and I realize I'm butt naked and I'm out in the hallway. Of course there's the door behind me, but I have to get back to my apartment, which is about 15 feet. So I sober up quickly. I'm like, all right, it's 5 a.m. You're okay. Sprint down the hall. And so I go sprinting down the hall, just afro in effect, butt naked. And my neighbor who came out was going to work in a suit, and all he sees is just this dude trucking at him coming out. And this guy made a face that you've never seen. And he ran back into his apartment and never talked to me again for the rest of the time I lived there, or he lived there rather. Yeah.
Oh, wow. It is so unique in that way.
I didn't mean to create that image in all of your heads. Sorry.
Were you there at all? Have you dealt with the superstorm, with the effects of how that was? Were you there?
Well, yeah, it was pretty bad. But for you guys know that. You guys have it every 3 weeks, right? You got something going on.
Yeah, but you know, there's a difference. I think in that here we're so sprawled out and we can kind of, but there you're just in that contained spot, and it's so crazy when you think about a tidal surge coming over Manhattan and going into the subways and that kind of thing. I mean, how did it affect? How did that affect you as far as getting around? So what'd you see?
Well, yeah, I mean, the path to Hoboken's still closed. It's not open. It was pretty intense. And the problem is New Yorkers, as you guys know, like to be tough. Like, when New Yorkers, we all get it. And all of a sudden, everyone's like, oh, shit. Like, this is bad. And so a lot of people didn't, like, listen or respect the fact that Mother Nature can really kick your ass if you don't, you know.
Right.
So that was, it just screwed up a lot of stuff because the place is not set up to handle that kind of water.
Exactly.
That's the thing. It'd be like if it snowed 4 feet here. Everyone would be skidding off the road because no one knows what to do with that.
Exactly. So it's still getting around's difficult.
It's still, things aren't open. Yeah, battery tunnel things are still closed. But no, but you know, everyone.
Now, when you are home in New York, do you go around and work the showcase clubs there?
Yeah, you try to do when you're in the city. That's where actually the Letterman people saw me. I was home, and it was to talk about perseverance and being out there. It was a Friday night, and I was just dying to stay home and sleep. I was like, I've done enough shows this year, but you know you got to be out there. You're not going to get discovered lying on your couch. And I had a gig at a Friday night club in New York. I was going to cancel. It was 10:30, and I was like, no, this is what I do. Do it. And the Letterman booker, the brand new Letterman booker, had just been hired, happened to come in and watched my show from the back and came up to me at the end and said,
"Oh,
you
cool.
Want to be on Letterman?"
Now, was that was November your first Letterman? Or that was your first Letterman?
Ever. That was my first. That was like my Super Bowl. I was being on Letterman.
Okay. So and now you it is. It's neat. It is.
Yeah.
I mean, I think now with the media being so watered down and so many shows and this, that, and the other, that I don't know that people kind of take for granted being on national television, you know. But it's still incredibly hard to get on a national television show. One really of any hard. Note. It's out of the numbers that are there.
Funny enough, the week I was on, the Leno people had seen me for years now, seen my tapes, maybe, no, and nothing. The week that I got booked to do Letterman, 4 days before, Leno personally called me and said, we want you to make your debut on our show.
Oh.
Yeah. And I was like, you wouldn't even talk to me for 5 years, and all of a sudden now you want. But every network wants to be the first person to put. It's the network television debut. They want to break you, so to speak. And I said, sorry, I'm already booked.
Now isn't that nice to tell Jay? Oh, Jay, sorry.
But I'm available next week.
Exactly. Now, and do they allow crossover? Does the Tonight Show allow you to come on there if you've been on Letterman?
They don't like it.
They don't like it.
It'll be a year or two. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to be kind of hot.
Yeah,
really
yeah.
hot.
No, yeah, they don't like it unless.
What about the other shows like Ferguson or Fallon or Kimmel? Do they?
Letterman is the top shelf, and so I was told they liked me enough to maybe have me back, and they do that every 9 months to a year. So I think for now I'm gonna stay with Letterman.
Right there.
Yeah, and if they say no or they're not calling me back, then I'll go elsewhere. But if I can be on, you guys know, you all watch, grow up watching Letterman.
I love Dave.
The best moment of that, I was on stage live, and behind me to my left, where Letterman was sitting, I could hear him laughing at my jokes, and that was like, I can't tell you as a comedian, that was the absolute highlight of my life. That was
So take us through showing up at the Ed Sullivan Theater and showing up there from the time you showed up there until it was over.
Well, the craziest thing about it is that for them, it's their job, and they do it every single day, so none of it's a big deal. And for you, it's the biggest day of your entire life. So I get there, and everything they did, they'd be like, all right, so this here's your dressing room, and I'd be like, my dressing room for the David Letterman show. And they'd be looking at me like, yeah. So you're going to go down at 4:40 p.m. and get your makeup to be on the David Letterman show. And by the end, they're like, this guy's a weirdo. Like, what are they doing? Like, at 5 o'clock, we'll take you down to be on the Letterman show. And so I couldn't calm down. And then the craziest part is, you guys all know Biff, the black guy Biff Henderson, who's always, everyone who watched the show, he's always like the stage hand or whatever. He's been on for years and years. Well, he's a real person. He exists. And he's actually the guy who puts you to go out. Like, he actually is the one who sits with you on the side and tells you when to go. So I get down there and I'm looking at Biff Henderson, who I've been since I was a kid. I'm like, you're Biff. And he's just like, yeah, kid. So anyway, so we got, 9, I'm like, but you're Biff. And then I was so in my mind about that I didn't hear myself get introduced, so he pushed me. So right before I come around the end, you can't see it on TV, but right before I come around the end, all I have is this moment where Biff pushes me. I go, Biff? And then I realized that I'm supposed to be up. I'm like, oh, hey, everybody, yeah. But I thought Biff was attacking me, so that was my, yeah. And then much like opening for Brad Garrett, when you're done, you are done. There's like your car service getting there, makeup people. When you're done, you can't even, like, can someone tell me where my dressing room was so I can get my stuff back? They're like, who are you? Like, no one even knows who you are. Right. They're on to the next guest.
Exactly. And you walked, I saw your set, it went really well.
Oh, thank you.
And now, and you also have a show on the History Channel.
Yeah, I love the 1880s. It's on Monday nights at 11, and it's comics basically trying to make jokes about history
that they know nothing about.
Yeah, they tell us. It's hard too because they're, that's all they do these days is these talking head shows where everyone's commenting on Lindsay Lohan's crazy. Well, this is about history, and so the producer will be like, well, Hitler was crazy, right? And then you'll be like, yeah. Come on, make it funny, make it funny. You're like, I don't think it's funny. I don't think it's a... So the first few episodes were growing pains, but I think we're finding our groove now. Yeah.
And now, when you're in New York, now, because you recently, I wonder if there's a recent change. You're in New York, you're a young comic, you're trying to make it, you're going to the showcase clubs, there's hundreds of other comics doing exactly what you're doing. Everybody's standing back by the bar and, trying to, talking and this, that, and the other. Now, Michael Somerville walks in. That's the guy that was just on Letterman. That's the guy that's got his own show on the History Channel. You could get on his show maybe, Is there a different way, this year, have you seen a difference in how you're treated? I mean, are like women just coming up, female comics like, I'll do whatever?
You could see how hard it is for me to go out in public. That's why we have security here at the stage.
But I'm saying
no one here even knew who I was when they came to the show tonight.
No. But I'm saying there, when you're in the comedy clubs, where people do know, the other comics know who you are and they know what's happening. Is that different now?
Yeah, it is, actually. And it's funny, it's just amongst comics. I can still walk down the street and with no... Although I did have my first fan, and I was so not used to it. Right after Letterman, 2 days later, a kid came up to me and he's like, you're Michael Somerville. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, I love your work. And I thought I was being punked or something. I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, no, I saw you on Letterman. And I got giddy. I was like... And then he started to leave, and I became the weird one. I was like, well, where are you going? Give me your number. We'll hang out. And he's like, I thought you were funny. Now you're freaking me out. Why are you doing that, dude? But no, comics respect it a lot. That's the nice thing about it. Comics are, they're very competitive. It's obviously a very solitary thing to be. We travel alone, we eat alone, we do it. And yet, when something good happens, there's kind of a brotherhood of like, at least if you're one of the nice ones people like.
Right.
They're like, yeah, no, that's pretty awesome, dude. Yeah.
Right. I think so. Well, that's what I would figure. I mean, it's like, if we were in that little clique and somebody walked in and I didn't know who you were, people, around me would go, hey, that guy was just on Letterman the other night. That guy's got a television show, and you're like, maybe I should go buy that some bitch a beer or something.
Well, the smart ones do. They definitely,
yeah.
Because not only do I like beer, but it's also short-lived. I mean, how long until you get, what's your next thing,
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
If a year passes, 2 years pass, if you haven't done something else, then you're kind of back to, oh, he was on Letterman.
Yeah, exactly.
He was on Evening at the Improv, and you're like, that got canceled in 1983. Were you on?
No.
Oh, all right. So you're only as good as your last thing. So
right.
I think I got another couple months to ride this out, and then I better do something else.
Do we have any questions in the audience? Anything at all? And anything that you might be curious about? It can be, yes. Uh-huh.
Where do you get your material from?
Life, I try to draw on stuff that makes me laugh, mostly, because I feel like that's what's going to make the most people laugh. And funny enough, when you first start doing comedy, a lot of people think it's really hard, but you actually have a lot to draw on, because you've never done comedy before, so you have your life, your family, your childhood, you have all this material to draw on that you've never written about. And then once you do it for several years, like I am now, it actually gets harder to find stuff, because now you've gone through all that, and now every day you're kind of mining. And the lady that I'm dating continually reminds me if I see 1 ounce of our relationship on that stage, I'm like, well, sweetie, I gotta tell you're getting an invoice, she said. So it gets harder, but you also get better at it. You start to see like the world through this funny lens, and then everything you do.
Yes.
This is not a question, but it's refreshing to hear someone so funny without a lot of curse words.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
See, it's funny without profanity.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Didn't say that to me, but I didn't deserve it. No. No, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't curse normally in life, and I grew up with I'm probably the fourth funniest person in my family, honestly. My mom is laser sharp, and we just quick and witty, and that's what I grew up knowing and seeing. So when I started doing comedy, I had no reason to start cursing now, right? So, but thank you for noticing. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Yes.
I was going to ask him that. He said his mother was very funny, but when did you discover that you were funny? Was it when you were a child in your family or high school?
Yeah, I think it was honestly a gradual thing. Like I was, as I said, like when you grow up the youngest of all boys and the least funny in your family, then you're just like no one thinks you're funny because you're not that funny. And then, I was a bit of a jokester in high school, but honestly it wasn't. And then even in college, to be honest, my friends were all these funny people. You know how you go to the bar and your buddies can be funny, and everyone's even in that moment, I'm like, man, these guys are fast. But then we had a professional comedian coming to campus. I went to Notre Dame in Indiana. And we had a professional come in.
Hey, congratulations!
Yeah, I think my dad's still paying it off. He's real proud.
No, your football.
No, that's exciting. But we had a professional coming to campus, and they wanted students to open. And so I said, I've always wanted to try it. My buddy's like, yeah. And that was the first time I realized I could do something that, like, if we all went out tonight, like half of you would be way funnier than me just hanging. But the one thing I could do, but on stage, I realized I could do something that other people couldn't do, and that's when I ran with it. On stage, exactly. I'm boring as hell off stage, I promise.
A lot of us are. Yeah. There's another question? Is there anything? I had one last question for you. Now, you've been doing this for a while. You've been around the industry for a while. And if tomorrow somebody came to you and said, I think you're brilliant. I've got all the money. I've got so much money it doesn't even matter. You could do any project you want to do. Any single project you would want to do, I can back it. Do you have something in your head that would be like, yeah, I got it?
Yeah, I think I would build a house in Hawaii and just live comfortably there. Oh, you mean
Screw a movie.
Yeah. Well,
no, I got a place in Maui. It's paid for.
I'll tell jokes in my kitchen to keep myself entertained.
That's great.
No, I always, it's funny. I mean, that's a great question. I don't know if I have an answer. I've always wanted to do an hour special growing up. I mean, I'm sure you all saw the Hour HBO special. My first CD was Rodney Dangerfield, No Respect. Like those are, and everyone had their coming out, like their hour special, whether it was Eddie Murphy, Bill Cosby. And so the first thing, it certainly wouldn't cost unlimited money, but I really want to do an hour, kind of not unlike what you guys actually just saw tonight. That's kind of what I'm working towards, and is what you saw. And yeah, I'd love to do an hour special.
If you could do okay, that's there. Where would you want to do it?
Right here.
Exactly. That's exactly right. You got
I haven't gotten paid yet.
You got at least one more week booked.
No, I have to say, though, honestly, clubs have a feel to them. And there are brand new clubs in New York City that were recently built that cost millions and millions of dollars. And big Wall Street guys came in with money. And there is an intangible to a comedy club, and you know this, that you can't build, you can't recreate. And this is one of the few clubs in America, absolutely not joking, I'm not pandering, that has that feel that as soon as you step on the stage, it's just like a comfortable room that you, and it's just, you can't. Every comic you see on TV has stood on this stage, and there's something about you wouldn't want to change a thing. And I think it's the energy. This is what comedy is. Theaters are beautiful to perform in, but this is what comedy is.
Right.
I think she has to.
I've been here many times. I live here. I've lived here for 21 years.
Oh wow.
And you were the best.
Oh well, thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate
it.
Well, I appreciate that.
Well, then
14 people agree. Thank you.
I hope you'll buy a CD.
Yeah, it's only $10 autographed.
Absolutely. Michael, thanks a lot. Mike's going to be right back there with his CDs, so you can say hello. I'll let you go ahead and take off so you can set up.